So nice to be able to spend the holiday season, albeit via Skype, with a dear friend. I'm in a hotel room in Miami, and joining me from a hotel room in San Antonio is Angus Clark. How you doing?
Fantastic. How are you, Dana?
I'm good. I'm good. Now you are out on the road right now with Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I've had an opportunity to hang out backstage with you, kind of see how it's all put together. That's a pretty amazing process, well-oiled machine. How's it going out there this season?
It's going great. We're having one of our best years ever, I believe. Not only in terms of ticket sales, but also just as far as how it's all going, and everybody's very happy with the show. We've changed the show over the years. I've done it for 16 years now. And since I started, we did pretty much the first half of the show, which features some storytelling, was pretty much the same for, I think, the first 12 years or so. And then we started changing it, and we did the third holiday album that we put out, and then we did the second holiday album that we put out. And now we're doing this kind of tie-in to the TV special that they air on Hallmark Channel now. That kind of serves as a greatest hits package for what we do, and it's the strongest show I think we've ever put together. There's lots of recognizable holiday melodies. There's also lots of fan favorites from the TSO stuff that's not holiday centric. So and the way they've approached the video and the pyro effects and the lift gags on the stage and all these things are just better than they've ever been. So it's growing great.
Now, a lot of people don't realize, not only doing TSO for 16 years, but you were a Broadway star. You and I hooked up a couple of times, got together and had lunch in New York. I never got a chance to see you in the Broadway hit Rock of Ages. How did that come about? And how was it different than doing, say, a concert tour with TSO?
So I think it's a shorter answer on how it's different from the TSO. So let's do that first. And then what's fascinating, a rock tour where there's so many moving pieces, right? They take the whole stage apart at the end of the night, and then they put it on trucks, and we get on buses, and we all travel to the next place, and then they build the stage, and you play on. So you have this dynamic with all the travel and different. You're in a different place every night. All those things are different. Whereas Broadway, you're installed in the theater. So in one sense, it's like super easy. It's all known quantities. Like, I'm going to show up, and this will be here and this will be there, and everything will be fine. Then when I'm done, there's no after show hang. Sometimes there is, but there's no bus. I was living in Brooklyn for most of the time that I was on Rock of Ages, so you just take the train home. And I was fortunate in Rock of Ages in that I was a sub, so I wasn't there all the time. And the guys I was subbing for were both very busy, so I got to sub it fairly regularly for almost 6 years. So I felt like a regular, but I was still just an understudy technically. So it was always fun to me to do it. But what you learn about Broadway, what the actors go through, what those guys do, they deliver the same exact thing every night as if it's brand new. And that was a skill that I hadn't seen anybody execute up close quite so well before. In rock performance, there's a lot of like improvisational moments. Even if the music is scripted, you have moments of interaction that are, generally anything can happen. Genuinely anything can happen. And that happens very rarely on Broadway.
Right. They want everything is the same.
Yeah, the veteran actors were the guys I learned the most from, because they would get up there. The guys that had kind of the comedic parts. I don't know if you saw the movie or anything. The guy who played the club owner and the dad in the German dad. Those two guys, man, they just would do just the same thing every night, but it was just like it was brand new. So that's something I really learned about that. How I got there, so I was working with my band Daredevil Squadron, who just put a new album out, and we just put a new single out, and we were making our first record at a studio in Brooklyn, right by where I live. And while I was in there, so my daughter, I think was 3 months old at the time, and my wife had said, you know, this TSO thing's great, but you really need some in-town work. You need something that's going to be a little more local.
Get a job.
You know? Yeah. Got a kid. So I had impetus. You know, I had motivation, which is an important key to succeeding at anything. And I knew I had skills. And then I also had coincidence. So there's the X factor and all these, you know, pathways to success, right? It turns out that the guys who owned the studio where we were making the record were good friends with Konstantin Maroulis, who is the lead in Rock of Ages for the you know, when it opened and the first, I don't know, 2 or 3 years of the Broadway run. And we were in there, and like the singer in my band had just been to see Rock of Ages. He's like, you should go check that out, man. The guitar players are totally featured. There's all this tapping, and it's crazy, and it's great, you know? And I was like, okay. And so I asked the guys at the studio, hey, could you give my name to Connie? And they were like, sure, you know, just promise us you'll mix the record here. And I was like, sure, okay.
Yeah,
so it was still negotiation. And then, and so they gave my name to Connie, and then, and Connie gave my name to Tommy Kessler, who plays the guitar too, who's also in Blondie. And then it turned out that Joel Hoekstra, who was the guitar one on the Broadway show, and I had met through another TSO acquaintance years earlier, and I had, you know, vaguely remembered meeting Joel. Joel remembered meeting me and that I was a nice guy. So, which is, you know, another one of those things. It's like we all recommend to everyone, you know, it's like you have to treat each relationship, you know, with, you know, respect and courteous.
You never know when it's going to come back to you. You never know.
Exactly. So, so all of those things conspired in my favor, and I wound up there. I went in subbing on guitar 2 for Tommy for about the first year, and then did some more subs, and so I started subbing both chairs. So it was great experience, and of course, you know, Joel now plays with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which was, you know, just a neat thing that there wound up being an opening in the East Coast band. He's on board now, and I'm still great friends with Tommy, and it's been and a lot of the folks from the show. So it's really just great relationships and been great for the career and everything.
It's that whole networking thing, and I think one of the things you said there at the beginning is something I try to tell people all the time. Let people know what you need and want. Just put it out there in the universe, because you never know who knows who. I mean, you and I met through various and assorted friends, and have now been friends for several years. And it's not only fun for me when you come through town to come see you play, but we've also been able to work together, which brings me to my next question is, tell us about SongDivision. I've had the opportunity to work with you and work with SongDivision, and it was just so fun to see you go from rock star to business star, which you really are on stage. You're so good at it. But explain real briefly what SongDivision is.
Well, SongDivision is a global company. We're a specialty vendor for the meetings and events industry, and our hallmark product is a songwriting activity, interactive songwriting activity that can be done with a group of any size by people who have absolutely no musical training, talent, or even inclination. So it's completely egalitarian. It's for everybody. It can be used as a team building tool. It can be used as kind of a conference energizer, one of those, you know, kind of both enriching and entertaining activities that gets people very involved with each other and the stage performers. And it also works in the same time span and place as kind of a keynote or motivational speech. So we've were all over the world, started in Australia, and I got the call to be a facilitator, kind of a songwriting coach and guitar player for a session at a studio in New York. And I took the call and I said, man, I really like this. So I hunted up Andy Sharp, who says hi, by the way.
Hello. Hey, Andy.
I found their website online, and I had met him when we did the job, but we hadn't we hadn't exchanged business cards. I hadn't gotten his phone number, and so I went and found him online and contacted him and said, hey man, I really enjoyed that thing. Can we do it again? And he said, well, why don't you come do one in Australia and see how we do it here? And then when it was time to launch it more in the States, I came on board, and now I'm the general manager. And there you go.
So,
it's a lot of fun.
Not the typical look for a businessman, but I love to tell people, Angus Clark, the guy in all the explosions, the TSO, the guy flipping the hair, general manager of a team building firm, and one of the top team building firms around the world. I will say that Angus and I got to work with Angus when we trained. I guess it was probably about 200 engineers for a major oil company who actually worked all over the world but had never met each other in person. And one of the first things they did was have your company come in and have this whole group write a song. And it was magic to watch engineers. I mean, I can say that because I'm married to one. I know. It was magic to watch engineers come together and actually write a song. Talk a little bit about... and we're going to put links to all of this so people can find SongDivision and see some of your videos because they're just great. You teach guitar, you've got great guitar DVDs, lessons online, but you're a natural instructor. You seem to really like that.
There's two sides to that. One is I'm a great fit for SongDivision. Part of what I really like about it is that what we do is share kind of the energy and the joy of making music in a non-judgmental place where, as I said, no musical talent or experience is required. It's for everyone. At the end of the day, it winds up the crowd functions. Whoever wants to sing, obviously, can step forward. Everyone's meant to sing along at some point, much the way you would sing along to Happy Birthday, which everybody's pretty comfortable with.
Yeah, but then you always find this. I think there was a guy that played like Stevie Ray Vaughan out in the audience. They got up.
You always find somebody to play the guitar. Yeah, that's part of how our magic trick works. But the great thing that I've always said about doing SongDivision is that I get to share this whole, the joy and the fun of it, and we write a song and everybody gets to perform it, and suddenly we're, all these engineers are in a band together instead of just working together, and you can't take that away from them. We've now all performed a song together. When at the beginning of the day they didn't think they were going to do that. But the great part is that I don't have to chase them up next week and see if they practice the song
and see if and try to get airplay and try to get a record deal and
so and as guitar instruction has evolved, now that there's kind of the let's make a DVD, and it can be interactive. People can slow it down. They can they don't get to actually ask me questions, but they can slow it down. As a private teacher, I find teaching students that don't practice to be intolerable. It's kind of like I'm presenting the same material.
Yeah. What's the point?
presenting the same material over and over again week after week, or giving them different material that's at the same skill level week after week. Those things were not a good fit for me. So that's been a challenge of mine. That's one thing I don't feel I'm good at and would like to get better at.
Well, before I let you get back to your day off on the road, which is always a nice thing, and get back to some of that great Tex-Mex food that we do have in San Antonio, Texas, I find out I've got competition on the road now. Hey, I can't play. You go play a guitar and I'll go speak. You have a great keynote speech that you're doing now. So if somebody doesn't want to bring in the entire SongDivision team, they can always just bring you in. And you talk about the 3 C's. So I'm gonna let you talk about it and take yet another gig from me, Angus Clark.
Never. I've seen yours, and I know that I'm in the presence of greatness. So here's what we
keep
put
going,
together.
keep going. No, that was good. Now, what are the 3 C's? Talk about your speech.
So the keynote program that you're talking about is called Building a Culture of Innovation, and we think that the 3 most important elements to have in the workplace in order to have a culture of innovation, which is where all the good ideas, giving room for all the good ideas to come out. And those 3 C's are communication, collaboration, and creativity. And the connection between those 3 things, communication, we do a simple exercise where we demonstrate the 2 sides of it. There's the talking and there's the listening. And are you actively participating in both parts of that communication? So many of us leave out the listening part. And then some of us don't. We talk about that in terms of courage and courtesy. If you have the courage to speak up and the courtesy to listen, you have to demonstrate those 2 things in order to have communication.
Okay, that would be 5 C's now. I'd just like to point out.
The C words are everywhere in terms of getting people to work together. And then the collaboration, we talk about a yes mentality, that in the workplace you have to leave room for the word yes before you go to the immediate no. Very often you think that no is easier. It takes this option off the plate. I'm not sure I want to hear all about this. Let's say no. Or you say no because it's a power move, saying, just like our children start, once they learn the word no, they start telling us no because it feels like the most powerful thing to do. Whereas really yes is more powerful. And then in creativity, we just talk about leaving room for creative thought or recognizing where you have choices in terms of how to solve problems at the workplace. And by combining these 3 elements, you build towards a much more innovative workplace. So that's the whole thing, and we're having some good success with it.
Let me just to recap. Singer, I got a list here. Singer, songwriter, performer, guitarist, Broadway star, keynote speaker, corporate GM, husband, dad, friend. What'd I leave out?
I think
I pretty much got them all there. Well, this is great. Well, enjoy your time off, and we'll have links to everything in the article, and we appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Thanks so much, Dayna. It's been a pleasure.